Roy Cruz here again. I want to apologize. I think I said it wrong as far as um, saying something is real paint versus cheap paint. I think the Neocolor 2s and the Derwent Inktense are real paint within the limits of their capabilities to be water soluble, pastels and pencils. I think they're real paint within the limits of the way professional artists use them. And I apologize because I am watching plenty of videos where the um, artist is saying that they've done the light fastness tests, they've done the test wherewith um, the longevity of the product and what the product might be, like if they finish a painting or whatever, and they're using these products, Inktense and the Neocolor 2s, especially these two, they're using them to do professional pieces. Now, again, I will say that these are not the same thing, and probably from the looks of it, not from the math of it, I'm not doing the math, I'm looking at it on the paper. They're not the same thing as your typical gouache, acrylic. Inktense pencils are not the same thing as acrylic. And Neocolor 2s is not the same thing as watercolors or somewhere in between gouache and watercolors. They are what they are within the limits of the ability to make them water soluble the way they are, and within the way the artist uses them. So it's up to the artist whether these paints are professional quality or not, because the person that's buying the product, that's buying the finished piece, is not going to look at that and say, oh, that's not real watercolor, oh, that's not real oil pastel, oh, that's not real, he's not going to say that. He looks at it, he likes the color, the vibrancy, he likes the drawing, he likes the vintageness of the drawing, the style. That's it. That's it. One thing I have noticed real quickly is that you do need to go over the water soluble media more than you do the actual paints that they are cousins to. Let me say that again. You do need to work more to build what you need with the water soluble media that you're using, whether it be pastels or pencils, whether it be expensive brand or cheap brand, it's up to the artist. You do have to work more with the paint and how you use it in order for it to be a professional piece, in order for it to keep up with its cousin that it is derived from, whether it be watercolor, gouache, acrylic. And everything comes from those three. You're either coming from a acrylic vein, like I said in the last video, or you're coming from a water soluble vein, or you are an animal in between those two, like gouache. Okay, so it's either acrylic, watercolor, or gouache, or acrylic gouache, which is acrylic. Okay, I have seen the slight difference between acrylic and acrylic gouache. And the difference is acrylic gouache is gouache. Okay, it is just, it has a more matte, it's more matte. Okay, and it has the same um, consistency and thickness and saturation as gouache, acrylic gouache. Okay, um, acrylic has a little bit looser substance to it, and the paint is darker. The paint is darker, very vibrant but darker, and the actual acrylic paint is not as bright as acrylic gouache or gouache. Okay, actual acrylic. And it all depends on, you know, what, there's so many varieties of acrylic paints. You can go for, you know, pastel colors. You can there's so many different types of acrylic you can get. And I'm finding out that even like the acrylic that's made for kids tends to be competitive to water soluble media as far as the actual paint on the paper. Now the drawing itself, that's up to the artist, but when you look at the color, when you look at the painting, whether it be abstract or whatever it is, like here's a little thing from Inktense that I had to go over, because when I did it, it was too dark. Now that's very, very, very wash acrylic, but yet the way I had to, you know, the patchiness in it and the tint in it is not quite the gouache or acrylic that I'm used to. But especially when you use, this is Inktense, especially when you use the Derwent paints, they really, 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 the Derwent paints, even the Derwent paints, are a different animal than the pencils. I think the blocks might be a different animal than the pencils too. But no, I take it back. Even the Derwent, even the Derwent paints are a different animal than the Derwent blocks too. But one thing I don't like about Derwent Inktense pencils, and they're my favorite. But one setback that I don't like is that all the colors are so dark, and there's people that use the Derwent Inktense for professional use, and one of the things that they do is they will let you know right up front in these teaching videos that you need to get out like white acrylic paint, or you need to get out like your Derwent white pencil, you know, water soluble white pencil, Inktense pencil, and put that down for each color if need be in order to get a bright color. And I have tested that out, and I did go over it, as you can see here on the bottom here where it's lighter, and a couple places up here. I did go over it with the pencil after, not before, but after the white Inktense pencil. I did go over color with it, but as you can see, the picture in general is just super dark. Okay, so that's something to be concerned about as far as doing professional pieces. And I noticed too, it really depends on what kind of paper you're using too, because depending on what kind of paper you're using, the water soluble media, whether they be pencils or pastels, they touch the paper different. They connect with the paper differently. Because I've had lighter Inktense swatches than this. Okay. But the gouache is lighter in color and brighter in color, and to me it's prettier. And so, you know, like I said, when I re-reviewed everything in that closet, and gouache is fairly new. I just got into gouache probably 2 years ago. Um, and I just started really getting it out and using it around the time I got to Hemi gouache, which was like just a few months ago. Um, if you remember the video, actually, I think it was about a year ago I got to Hemi gouache. Yeah. Um, I got the Hemi gouache while I was living at this address, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so it's only been about a year or a little bit over a year since I've had the Hemi gouache. And when I got into it, I was like, I can really tell the difference between it and other paints. But then I went back, you know, when they started talking about acrylic gouache and acrylic, okay, I remembered that, you know, gouache and acrylic have that in common as far as how they attack the paper, how they lay down on the paper compared to everything else. And so, like, even if you're doing comics, like my man Tio, um, I don't know if you watch his channel, um, but I forget his last name. His last name's hard to pronounce. Asian guy that does, you know, urban sketches. He tests everything. He tests anything water soluble. He's tested the Neocolors, the Inktense. He's tested everything. But, you know, um, you want to, like him, you want to do something, you want it to be simple. And you don't want to spend too much time um, going over it. And while you're going over it, you got to go over it again. And that's what happens a lot of times with these water soluble pencils and crayons or pastels, is you go over it to fix it, and then you got to go over it over what you fixed. You got to go over it and over and over it again, because it's kind of like when it comes down to that point to where the paint is drying and you start to see where the paint broke a little bit and you start to try to fix it, and you realize that these lines in here, you know, like when it's wet, it doesn't look like this. When it's wet, it doesn't look like this when it's wet. Okay? But when it dries, it gets really dark, and you start to see where, you know, like right here, where some of the paint magically disappeared. Where'd it go? You know what I mean? But I don't have that with gouache. I don't have that with acrylic gouache. What I see when I paint it is what I see when it dries, only better. And then when it dries, the colors become lighter, and when it dries, you know, there's no cracking, there's no having to continue to go over it and over it and over and over it. Usually, if you got to go over it, it's because you made mistakes in the drawing, or in the first, you know, swatching of the paint, putting the first layer of the paint down, you made some mistakes. But, you know, like, I can fix this up. I can go and keep going over this and fixing this for the way I imagined it in my head. But it is what it is. However, again, it's up to the artist. I can keep fixing it as an artist. I can keep fixing it until it's what I want it to be. And then again, if it's too much trouble, I can always bring in my heroes, the gouache and acrylic gouache, and really, really fix it. Really fix it, so that I don't have to keep fixing it. Okay. But I'm thinking about, as much as I love my Neocolor 2s and my Inktense, they're not going anywhere. Okay? Those are my jams. That's my those are my medium. That's my jam. Okay? I'm going to do uh, more gouache and acrylic gouache as well, because I love what I see. And even if I'm doing comics or illustration or whatever, you know what I mean? I need to learn how to paint. There are people on YouTube that really know how to paint. And I'm going to say it again. When it comes to painting, you know, gouache and acrylic gouache, or they're the jam. They're the original jam. And watercolor. I stay away from oil paint. I rather do oil pastels again. But you know, these water soluble medias like Inktense pencils and Neocolor 2s, they're good for beginning students. Number one, they're good for artists as well that know how to really put in the work and make a professional piece. You know, but don't stop there. My plan was to, you know, when I first got my set of Neocolor 2s, I said, this is it. This is it. Then I got my pail of Inktense. I said, oh, this is it. This is it. You know. I think really if one was to be it over the other, it would be the Neocolor 2s, because again, Neocolor 2 is a pastel, and you can make it look anywhere from a watercolor look to a pastel look. And different papers give you different brightness in the paint. You know, different papers give you more time to draw and that, and you can use them on canvas and all like that. If I had to pick one, it would be Neocolor 2. But in closing, I'm not going to stop painting in general. Now that I'm into Neocolor 2, now that I'm into Inktense pencils, and I'm using them, I'm also learning to paint, because I'm finding out now. I'm finding out, even from using those two items, that I have a new respect for gouache and a new respect for acrylic gouache, for acrylic. Okay, and I got some new acrylic paints coming in the mail. They'll be here in a couple days. They're not here yet because tomorrow's Labor Day, but they'll be here soon. And I'm just excited. I looked at a video, saw a review on them, and I'm excited. I really can't wait till they get here. And it's time for me to stop being so lazy with the abstract stuff and really start to draw some stuff. I will admit, you know, y'all look at these videos, you say, what did you draw that justifies or you know, makes a claim against the paint? I know. I figure if a paint is really good, it will, and if the colors are really different than each other in that, doing abstract paintings will show that. Okay? And when you do abstract paintings, do abstract stuff, you're just enjoying your medium. Okay? When you do an actual painting or drawing, you're dependent on your medium to help you, you know, carry out your imagination and complete what you imagine you would complete. That's the difference between, you know, um, when it comes to uh, abstract stuff, you're just enjoying your medium and you're learning about your medium. When you do original drawings, you are using your medium to carry out your plan, and you're hoping that your medium is that you're using is qualified to do it. Okay, and I can tell you right now that maybe doing comic book stuff, graphic novel stuff, I think the Inktense is qualified. But if I was to really, 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 really sit down and draw something that, let's say it's worth some money or something, it's something that I'm going to give to somebody else. I don't know if I would use water soluble media. I don't know if I would use Inktense or Neocolor tubes. Now, from what I hear from YouTube, people have. But I'm learning that there's different animals here. You know, the binary that's in the gouache and acrylic gouache, and even watercolor is a total different animal than is in their cousins that support them. The Neocolor twos, the Inktense. These are different animals on different sides of the force. Okay, and it does take a certain kind of acrylic too. Like here, I got this acrylic. Is this Liquidex? No, this is golden. This is golden. Okay. It's acrylic, and it's good to use if you use it very lightly. But again, going back to the tubes, I want to do everything outside tubes. I'm sick of tubes. One of them locked on me already. I can't even get it open, and it went empty. I don't know. The paint in it got hard. You can't touch it. It got hard. How does it do that? Everything's plastic. It got hard inside plastic. It's all plastic. Paint got hard. And you can't even open it. You can't do nothing with it. So, this is what made me come home the other day, well, yesterday actually, and spend ample time with my Neocolor 2s and my Inktense, because this made me mad, this right here. One of these tightened up on me and I can't get it open, and then I found out it was dry in the bottom of the, I'm thinking acrylic is messy, and like oil paint, it's a mess to clean up. Gouache, on the other hand, is a little bit more messier than watercolor to clean up. You can clean it with water, but it takes more than just water. It takes soap and water, okay? The Inktense, I don't have to blend nothing. The Neocolor 2s, I don't have to blend anything. This is the upside of these materials. Even though what you're looking at is a different thing on paper, but you can make it work. The cleanup is just awesome. Like, I don't have to get a palette out and mix anything. I don't have to. I can do everything right on the paper, and I can use a water brush or a brush, it don't matter. And then when I do use water and a brush, the water doesn't become completely cloudy in just one little color, one little swatch of a color, and boom, it feels like I gotta go and change the water already. The water's completely black. No, you can use the water for a while before you have to dump it. You know what I mean? That's the upside of these water soluble items like this. They are plain and simple, and that's why they're not going anywhere. They are still my original jam. But again, I won't stop painting in general. Neocolor 2, Inktense, but better yet, acrylic and acrylic wash. I love all of y'all. And again, it's up to the artist whether you want to call, I'll leave it up to you whether you want to call Neocolor 2s or Inktense paint real paint, or not. It's up to the artist and his ability to make good drawings and paintings out of these items. It's not up to me to say that just because they come from a different binary, they're not paint, or or because they, adhere to the paper different. But I will never give up on the water soluble items like Neocolor 2s and Neo or Inktense and the other ones that are trying to compete with them. But I won't stop painting either. Just regular, simple watercolor painting, which I just got into recently. It's something I'm interested in now. In the gouache, I'm gonna keep doing that. And acrylic gouache, I'm getting more into that. Thank you for watching. I am DeRoy Cruz. It's been a pleasure, and I just wanted to let you know I apologize. I was I think a little bit too direct with what I was saying about the difference without mentioning the artists that actually make professional quality products out of these items. So thank you for watching. More again coming soon. Thank you.